Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe, welcoming you to our live, local, 5 days a week look into all things Michigan. Today, we'll be talking to a number of people about a whole host of fun and interesting stuff, as well as important news stories right here in Michigan. Let's get into today's headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Sorry, on our local news page. That's where our local news is. It's exactly where it's supposed to be. Click on local news, you get local news. Our top story today is from the Detroit News' Charles E. Ramirez. The number of Southeast Michiganders still without power following Monday's severe thunderstorm currently sits at about 52,000 people as of 7 a.m. today. DTE reported at about 7 o'clock this morning that 52,801 of their customers, those being bill payers, not total number of customers affected, remain without electricity, with Consumers Energy down to just 320 of those bill payers currently still out of power. DTE had previously predicted at the end of the day on Thursday they would have 80% of its coverage area having their power restored. Those numbers, based on the metrics we have as of 7 o'clock this morning, now put that number at 97%. Also making headlines today on civiccentertv.com. On our local news page from John Tunison at MLive, police are investigating an alleged attempt to sell a voting assist terminal from a northern Michigan community. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson stated via Twitter this week that the terminal was taken from Wexford County. Her tweet read, quote, "We are working with law enforcement to investigate allegations of an illegal attempt to sell a voter assist terminal acquired in Wexford County, Michigan. These terminals do not tabulate ballots. They are for voters who need help marking their ballot privately at polling places," end closed quote. Keep in mind, as the Secretary of State said in that tweet, these voter assist terminals are not the voting machines that count and tabulate the votes from your ballots. They merely help somebody with a disability, whether it be a vision disability, whether it be a hearing disability, whatever the case may be. If somebody has a disability and they need some help marking their ballot properly at the polls, that is what these machines, in particular, the voting assist terminals, are used for. That being said, still important election equipment. And that should not be being sold by individuals, especially given the situation that we're in with people questioning the validity of our elections. That's the kind of stuff that makes you question that validity for legitimate reasons. And so a good thing to know that our law enforcement statewide, as well as our Secretary of State's office, is on the case and investigating this issue out of Wexford County. Finally, making headlines today on civiccentertv.com's local news page from Dave Boucher at the Detroit Free Press. The battle in Michigan over the 1931 law banning abortion and the ballot proposal that could institute a constitutional amendment that would codify abortion as being legal in the state of Michigan this November are likely to see action from the Michigan Supreme Court. The governor, as well as county prosecutors, Planned Parenthood, and on the other side of the aisle, Right to Life Michigan, are all seeking insight on this issue at the state level from the high court, with one side, that being the side of Right to Life Michigan, and particularly the conservative side of the political aisle in the state, hoping to enforce the 1931 law and prevent the constitutional amendment from hitting the polls this November, where the voters would decide on the state of legality of abortion in the state of Michigan and keep the 1931 law potentially inactive. That's the other side looking for that being the governor, that being the Democrats in the state of Michigan, hoping that the 1931 law will remain inactive and that the ballot proposal will make it onto the ballot this November so the voters can decide whether or not they want to have abortion legal in the state of Michigan. Of course, that after a federal decision earlier this year had rendered the historic Roe versus Wade decision at the U.S. Supreme Court level moot. And therefore, because there's not a federal mandate in place regarding this issue, that mandate falls back to individual states. And Michigan's latest law regarding abortion was that 1931 law that outlaws it here in the state of Michigan. That's currently got a stay order on it, so it's not currently active, but could be in the future if that stay order is lifted at a higher court level. The State Board of Canvassers earlier this week tied in a 2-2 vote on whether to put the proposal on November's gubernatorial election ballot. So time is ticking to get it to voters this November if it's going to happen at all, as absentee ballots are scheduled to be sent off to voters overseas at the end of this month, September 24th. And that means local clerks have until 5 p.m. next week, Friday, that's September 9th, to finalize their local ballots, which may or may not include this issue. It's a big story. Keep up to date with it by learning more from the great reporting from Dave Boucher and others at the Detroit Free Press by clicking through this article. You'll also find all of our headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com/local-news, or on our local news page. If you click at the top of the page on your computer web browser and in the left margin of your screen on your mobile device, as well as those ever helpful links to accurate and up-to-date information on COVID-19 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Friday edition of the Megacast. Plenty of fun and important information that is coming up ahead. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith, welcoming you back to our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. You can learn more about the program by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find more information and links to every single one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every single day. So you can watch us in your hometown, watch us online, and watch us all around the world on various outlets, including My Michigan TV. If you go to their website, mymytv.com, that's mymitv.com, there you can watch us live on their live player page. You can also find all of our programs on demand there as well. And you can also learn more information about all the different places you can download their free apps. They have an app for your smartphone and for your smart TV, so you can watch the Megacast on the big screen in case you're one of the few people that on this earth that wants to see my face even larger in front of you. You can do that there, or you can watch it on your cell phone, on your other mobile devices, on their free My Michigan TV app, smartphone app as well, and take My Michigan TV content all around the world with you right in your pocket with the free app from My Michigan TV. That can be found. Also, a link to their website on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find our shows on demand, full episodes, as well as each individual interview as well, so you can keep up to date on what we're doing here at the Megacast. And join us live every day, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday, all across Oakland County and across the great state of Michigan. Again, civiccentertv.com/megacast. We have an update in West Bloomfield. It's where we originate our broadcast. Our flagship Civic Center TV is, of course, the municipal cable television station for West Bloomfield Township, Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake Village as well. And there's an update from the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Their power is once again out, and they are on generator power. Because they're on generator power, their air conditioning is not currently working. The library remains open, but their AC is out at this time due to their revamped power outage. And we'll keep you updated on that as we can during this program. Of course, you can always find more information on the West Bloomfield Township Public Library at wblib.org. And you can also follow them on Twitter at WestBloomLib. That's West BLOOMLIB for more information. And of course, we'll keep you updated as we can throughout the program if more information comes in. But at this time, the main library is once again on generator power. And until DTE restores the power, they will be without air conditioning. So if you want to go read a good book, or you watch The Splash this morning and heard what Dave had to say about some special things you can get along with your library card if you're a resident of West Bloomfield or the Tri-Cities. Got to endure a little bit warmer temperatures inside the library, but always a good time over there. Our first guest today on the Megacast is Rebecca Salmon-Witt. She is the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer with the Detroit Historical Museum, and joins us now on the Megacast. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. We're in the waning days of Teacher Appreciation Month in August, but there's still an ongoing promotion at the Detroit Historical Museum and the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, allowing our educators, those in the classroom and outside the classroom in an educational environment, to get a great experience at these two museums and do some learning themselves outside of the school.
Yeah, you know what? We've been celebrating all August with our Teacher Appreciation Month, but really that's for anybody with a school ID. So whether you're the superintendent or the lunch lady, we want you to come on down to our museums and get a feel for what we've been doing, what we've been up to over the summer, and hopefully maybe pique your interest to bring your school kids back during the school year. School tours are a big deal for us, and we were just thrilled last year that we were able to start having those young voices back in our museum. So that was really fun for us. And we thought we would offer a free month for all of our educators this summer, just to get them back in the mood of coming for a great school tour with their classrooms.
Yeah, let's talk about that too, because just in time for school, you are reopening for the first time in 3 years. Your primary exhibit for school kids. Can you tell us about that exhibit, what it's been in the past, and what the Detroit Historical Museum has done now, bringing it back after almost 3 years of it being absent due to COVID?
Yeah, you know what? We closed the Frontiers to Factories exhibit right around the time of COVID. And that's the exhibit that's correlated to our school standards for third and fourth graders. So it's all that great Michigan history for the last few hundred years. And it needed an update. We hadn't updated that exhibit for 25 years. And so it was planned to close it down to do an update. And then COVID hit. And so it ended up being closed a whole lot longer than we intended. It's reopening for this school year. It's been renamed. It's now called Origins, Life Where the River Bends, which is it harkens to the name that the First Peoples called this area of our state before the settlers, European settlers, ever arrived. So we're really excited about the name change, about the upgrades. Students will find more technology in the exhibit, a greater breadth of storytelling in the exhibit. So we reach a little bit farther back before before even Frontier Times to tell those stories in the exhibit now. And this is just the first taste. So we're going to be continuing to update that exhibit over the next few years.
We're joined by Rebecca Salmonen-Witt. She is the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum, joining us today on the Megacast. We have a holiday coming up, Labor Day, just a week away, and that's a day where a lot of people take the day off. Of course, the school is off for the day, but that doesn't mean that learning doesn't have to happen on Labor Day for families that want to go down to the Detroit Historical Museum or the Dawson Great Lakes Museum and have a learning experience with their family. Tell us about your Labor Day hours and some special things going on this holiday.
Well, we're really excited because usually Labor Day, the museums are closed. And this year, the Dawson Great Lakes Museum is going to be open to visitors with special holiday hours. So from 1 to 5 on Labor Day, you're going to be able to visit the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, and it's free for everybody. So we've got a really great exhibit in there right now. It's been in there since this winter. It's called Maritime Miniatures, and it's the art of the ship model. And so we've filled that museum with 150 of our ship models of Great Lakes ships. So folks will be able to come in, see the ship models. And I'm telling you, that has been such an exciting and really popular exhibit with folks that we've extended it. So we wanted to extend the exhibit, but we also wanted to make it free. So as many people as possible could come and enjoy the Dawson Great Lakes Museum on Labor Day.
One of the absolute favorites of history lovers in the state of Michigan are those car lovers. And while the Woodward Dream Cruise is in our rearview mirror at this point, that doesn't mean the love of cars, of classic cars and motor vehicle history here in Michigan is over. There's actually a fun event coming up in September through your organization for all those car lovers out there. Tell us about that event.
You know, I'll tell you what, we have our Motor City, America's Motor City exhibit is really a favorite of car lovers because it talks about the place that the automotive industry played in the history of Detroit. And it's just a really fun, it's a beautiful exhibit. So that's one of our permanent exhibits. You can come and see that all year round. But September, as a lot of folks knows, we've got a couple of big other car things happen. One of them is the Concours d'Elegance, and it's happening right across the street from the Detroit Historical Museum at the Detroit Institute of Arts. And we just thought, man, with 4,000 or 5,000 car lovers over there, we know that we've got an audience of folks, we know what they love, and we really wanted to bring out a few special items from our collection. Detroit Historical Society has a collection of about 300,000 artifacts. Now, obviously, not all of those are cars, but we do have 70 or 80 really special vehicles that kind of give you the real slice of Detroit life. So our car collection is, that's a real Detroiters car collection. What you're going to see at the Concours, really big fancy cars, but not something that you or me or our mom back in 1980 might have been driving. That's what's in our car collection. So we're going to pull out a couple of those things, put those on display. But we're also going to work with some of the local car clubs in the area and bring out a really fun car show of 50s and 60s cars. We'll probably have some music on site. There'll be some food trucks on site, just a really fun family day. So if you're coming out to the Concours, make sure you stop across the street at the Historical Museum. If you're not coming into the Concours, come to our museum and get a real slice of Detroit car history, because we've really got it all on display there. It's another day. It's going to be free for anybody who wants to come and absorb some of those awesome cars in our parking lots.
We're joined by Rebecca Salmonen-Witt, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. More information can be found on DetroitHistorical.org. That is DetroitHistorical.org for information on programs now and upcoming in the future, and to find all the info you need on both the Detroit Historical Museum as well as the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. DetroitHistorical.org. And upcoming in October, we have a really great new exhibit that's going to be opening at the Detroit Historical Museum, kind of giving some recognition to people that aren't going and getting recognized quite for their due contributions to our local area. You're going to have a new program called The Hustle, a celebration of Detroit's unsung entrepreneurs. Tell us about this program, when it begins, and why this now.
Well, you know what? So at the Historical Society, one of our main things is to get more people in the museum on a consistent basis. So we're constantly looking for groups of folks who might not always come and see us, and trying to put stuff in the museum that's going to make your visitors and all the visitors from around this region really want to come to our museum. And one of the ways to do that, we really know, is to put stuff in the museum that speaks to their personal experience. So a couple of years ago, we had this idea, and actually it was one of our trustees' idea. We have this great guy, Mark Bland, he's a trustee for us, works in the automotive industry, and he had this idea to dig down deep into the history of Detroit's neighborhoods. Find people who have kind of those entrepreneurs who make the neighborhoods run, right? So we're not talking about folks who own the big fancy companies that we all hear about, though, the Dan Gilbert level of entrepreneurs, who certainly is a star in our community. But we're talking about those folks who might want to be a Dan Gilbert one day, who just, they're down there, they've got their side hustle, they're figuring out a way to make ends meet, using their entrepreneurial skills. And these are your plumbers, your hairdressers, your barbers, the DJs that we all know. And so we started this program really to celebrate them, to make sure that they got their time to shine in a museum exhibit. And that project kicked off actually in April with a series of nominations. We got 800 nominations in. So this really great dynamic group of entrepreneurs, and we selected 36 of them that will be featured in a quarterly series of exhibits, and the very first one of those will be on October 8th. So we're just really excited about the program. It's going to be this program is going to involve public programming, some school programs, there's a bunch of celebrations, there are open houses, and this really amazing quarterly series of exhibits, again starting off October 8th, but then quarterly for a whole year. So the hustle is going to go all the way through the end of 2023. Lots of opportunities for your folks to come down to the museum and get a real slice of entrepreneurial life in Detroit.
All that information, DetroitHistorical.org is their website. Find out info on this program, The Hustle, a celebration of Detroit's unsung entrepreneurs, and other programs happening at the Detroit Historical Museum, as well as the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. We're joined by Rebecca Solomon-Witt, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum. Rebecca, another minute or so before we'll let you go today. Anything else we should be keeping an eye out for in the near future from the Detroit Historical Museum?
Well, one more free day to tell folks about. September 11th this year is National Grandparents' Day. So we've planned some special stuff in both of our museums. We'd love to have grandparents and their grandkids come on in. Again, that's going to be a free afternoon. That's a Sunday, so 1 to 5 open. And we've got coloring and some tours planned and just a whole bunch of really fun things for grandparents and their grandkids. So I hope we'll see a bunch of folks on September 11th as well.
Rebecca, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
DetroitHistorical.org for more information on their upcoming events, including this Labor Day weekend, something special they're doing. They don't usually do that. So if you're looking for something to do on Labor Day or over the Labor Day weekend, check out all the information there, DetroitHistorical.org, and keep up to date on everything they're doing, both at the Detroit Historical Museum and the Dawson Great Lakes Museum throughout the fall and into the future. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the latest in the business world and economics with Michael Greiner from Oakland University. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/Family Fun Night.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast. You'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Well, as the markets continue to fluctuate, as the job market continues to have some consistency, actually, and even despite that, there's plenty of questions about our state of economics and the business community all throughout the Great Lakes State. And here to help us clear some of that confusion up is Michael Greiner, an assistant professor of management at the Oakland University School of Business Administration. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here again. Thanks, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So let's start off. Probably the big news this week was the conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that included the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, giving a speech regarding the Fed's continued response to inflation. Can you tell us about and give us a little bit of a summary of what the chairman of the Fed had to say in Jackson Hole and the way that that's already impacting our economy?
Sure. Yeah, this is actually an annual conference that the Fed holds, although obviously they didn't hold it for the last couple of years for obvious reasons. But the Fed chair is kind of he gives a speech at this conference, and it's generally perceived as an important opportunity for everybody who's watching the markets to kind of try to understand what the Fed is doing. And interestingly enough, in his speech, he gave some very clear direction, which is kind of unusual for the Fed, actually. Typically, they talk in what's called sometimes Fed speak, which means that they use a lot of words to say basically nothing. And there's a reason for that. The reason is that they want to keep their options open. They want to make sure that if circumstances change, they're not kind of bound in by the expectations of the market to do a certain thing, even though it might not be in the kind of in the best interest of the economy at the time. In this case, though, Chairman Powell tried to send a very strong message directly to the markets. And what the message was is we are not letting up on the accelerator here. We are not going to reduce our effort to increase interest rates and to get inflation under control. Because frankly, I think that's what the markets have been seeing. They've been expecting that, we're starting to get some good information here. Things are looking a little more positive. So that should indicate then that the Fed might not be as serious about continuing with the aggressive approach that they've been taking toward inflation. And the message that Powell sent was very clear. He said, nope, we are going forward. We are going to tame inflation. We're going to get it down to the 2% rate, which is what we typically are looking for. Because there'd also been some talk about, well, maybe they won't push it all the way down to 2%. Maybe they'll just push it down to 4%. That was a message that the Fed chair sent loud and clear. Nope, we're not giving up on this. So for people who are happy to see the Fed serious about fighting inflation, that's good news. For people, though, who are concerned that it could mean a bit of a slowdown in the economy, it's something that's a little bit worrying. So we'll kind of see how this plays out.
We've already seen a bit of a reaction in the stock market. The stock market metrics were down almost immediately after that speech, continued on throughout the end of last week, the middle part of this week after that speech was made. And so with the market's reaction to that speech, where do you believe that the business community, particularly those that are really directing the markets, are looking at the future of our economy, given this directive from the Federal Reserve?
Well, I think you raise a couple of interesting questions there. The first one is the relationship that the stock market has to the economy overall, which in some respects is overstated, I think. And you have to remember, I mean, fundamentally, what the stock market is about is that they're buying interest in these businesses. And the risk is that they're going to lose money if the business goes out of business. And so essentially, what the stock market should represent in its purest sense is a bet on the likelihood that this business will succeed relative to it going out of business. Because if it goes out of business, the last people to be paid are the owners, the shareholders. So essentially, that's the risk where they might lose all of their investment. So, but that ends up really being kind of a long-term perspective on things. Does concern over the overall economy impact the stock market? Of course it does, because if the economy goes south, you're going to see more businesses go out of business than you might see otherwise. So that'll kind of increase the risk there and might push down the stock market. But I think the dynamic that you see a lot of the time here, especially when people are watching the stock market closely, is more of a short-term impact. It's almost you see a certain amount of gambling going on in the stock market. And just as an aside, one of the exercises that I think every economics graduate student has to go through, I certainly had to go through it when I was in grad school, is you do an analysis of the stock market using statistical tools that are basically the kinds of things that economists use. And what that analysis clearly shows is that the stock market is engaged in what's called a random walk, which means you literally cannot predict what's going to happen in it. It's completely at random, that all the information that's out there is literally boiled into whatever the current price is in the stock market. So if somebody is saying, I'm going to invest here or I'm going to invest there, there's a certain amount of gambling going on, essentially. And what they're trying to do then is kind of look at kind of these psychological figures, like what would make somebody bet on this stock versus that stock. A lot of that has to do with certain companies being able to tell a good story. Like I would argue that Tesla, for example, is way overvalued. But hey, everybody thinks Elon Musk is interesting and he tells a good story, so why not invest in him, right? On the other hand, what we see also is kind of a competition among investments. So, for example, when the Fed chair is saying we're going to raise interest rates, what does that mean to the stock market? Well, it means, on the one hand, is there a slightly elevated risk that certain businesses might go out of business? Yes. But the bigger issue, I think, is that it means that bonds are going to pay a higher rate of interest. So what a lot of what you're seeing happening are investors moving from stocks as their main investment over to bonds as their main investment. So when you see the drop in the stock market, a lot of the time it's just people adjusting where they're putting their money. Right now, bonds probably are looking like a more attractive investment, considering the fact that the Fed's going to keep raising interest rates. Higher interest rates mean bonds pay better than stocks.
I think one of the great fears of the situation we're in with inflation in the US is that fear of going into another recession. And I think it's even more of a fear because of the last recession we went through being the Great Recession. How much of a factor do these decisions from the Fed play into the potential for a recession in the United States in the near future?
Well, that right there, my friend, is the $64,000 question, or $64 trillion question, I guess, in some ways, because of the fact that that's what the Fed is trying to avoid. In my view, actually, the Fed did a fantastic job responding to the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009. Then you had Ben Bernanke as the chair, and he was basically a scholar of the Great Depression. And he tried to use the lessons that could be learned from what had happened in the Great Depression to address the response that the Fed had to the Great Recession. Now, that being said, it was a terrible, terrible recession. I was actually working as a bankruptcy attorney at the time, and I can tell you that the economic impact it had on families and businesses across the state and across this country was severe. And I think just about everybody experienced that. So you're right. I mean, people are concerned about that. But Americans, this is no criticism because I'm one too, and I do it too. We're notoriously short-sighted. And so on the one hand, we do have this kind of memory, this collective memory of how bad the Great Recession was. And especially younger people were dramatically impacted by it, where they came out into job markets that really did not provide them many of the opportunities that you saw some of the older people have. And so that's kind of been something that's weighed them down in their careers. But overall, people really right now are more concerned about inflation. And is that what they should be more concerned about? Well, I mean, we could debate that, and that's probably a debate for another day. But the bottom line is that what the Fed is trying to do is they're trying to engineer what's called a soft landing, where their goal is, hey, we don't want to have a serious recession to get this inflation under control. But what we want to do is kind of slow the economy just enough that people start charging less for the goods, and there's kind of more competition on what we call the supply side, where people are selling things, so that companies aren't able to raise their prices so much without fear that consumers just aren't going to buy them then. And so that's what the Fed's trying to do. Frankly, the Fed has had some success in the past on that. The Great Recession of 2008 was kind of a once in a lifetime thing with a financial crisis that caused it. Again, we could some other day go into a long discussion over what caused that. But the bottom line is that's not what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing right now, though, is more akin to what you saw back in the early 1980s, when the Fed stepped in and tried to tame the inflation that we had of the late 1970s. And then, though, the idea of inflation, what they call inflation expectations, had kind of gotten baked into culture. People just expected there'd be more inflation, so they wanted higher raises. They expected they'd be paying more. So that was the case, and that's what right now Jerome Powell is trying to avoid. And again, this is one of the messages he sent very clearly in his speech, which is we don't want those expectations to get baked in. So we're going to move very aggressively, very early. Waiting longer only makes things worse. And that's, again, part of the problem that we saw in the early 1980s, which is they took a long time to finally start addressing this problem. When they did, it required a severe recession to get inflation under control. And the hope is that by moving quickly now and aggressively, we can get it under control without dealing with the kind of job losses that you had, say, in the early 1980s.
Yet to paraphrase Chairman Powell, a little bit of pain now could prevent a lot of pain down the road. We're joined by Michael Greiner, professor of management from Oakland University School of Business Administration. Michael, another minute with you before we say goodbye. Anything else or any lasting information on this that we haven't discussed today that you would like our audience to know?
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is we did get some jobs figures this morning. That's always interesting. And, we economists were always sitting on the edges of our seat watching that. Everybody has predictions as to what it was. And I think the interesting thing about this jobs report is it was surprisingly non-remarkable, which is a good thing, I think, as far as most people are concerned. There were fears that if it were a really high jobs report like we had last month, when we had hiring in the range of 526,000 new jobs, that would have been the thing that would have driven the Fed to increase interest rates a lot more. On the other hand, if we saw a big drop in jobs, then that would be an indication that maybe the United States is starting to slip into recession, and we need to be worried about that. Well, as it turns out, we got a jobs report of 315,000 new jobs last month, which is a pretty good figure, actually, overall. The labor force participation is up, which is good. The unemployment rate ticked up a little bit, which sounds bad, but in the context of the labor force participation rate having gone up, that's not such a bad thing. And at that figure, it means that people are still hiring. There are still jobs out there. But it's not looking like we're going into recession, and it's not going to be high enough that it's going to be the type of thing that the Fed needs to really put on the accelerator. So that's good news, I think, as far as everyone's concerned.
Something we'll keep a look at in the future as a way of telling where our economy is going, and, of course, as a metric for where we're at. Michael, appreciate your time.
Happy to be here, Tyler. Have a good weekend.
You as well. Keep up to date on everything happening in the Oakland University School of Business Administration, as well as all their programs and their staff there by going to oakland.edu/business. Oakland.edu/business. We'll take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll talk with one of the many advocacy organizations and nonprofits across this great state of ours that is working on literacy and education right in your community. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program and everywhere you can view us on TV, on the radio, and streaming at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. You'll find information on our entire network of stations, including our co-flagship My Michigan TV, airing on your smartphones, your smart TVs, and on the web all across the Great Lakes state. Well, we know that literacy plays a significant role in success in everybody's life, whether it be in your job life, certainly in your education. It all ties back to literacy, one of the many groups in the state of Michigan that is working to help students with their literacy and therefore increasing their ability for great success in life is the Center for Success Network. And joining us now is their executive director, Andrea Meyer. Andrea, thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, give us a little bit of background information and a bit about the mission for the Center for Success Network.
Yeah, absolutely. So Center for Success Network serves elementary students in grades K through 5 across Detroit and Pontiac. Our mission is to unite literacy and community to support our students in their journey of education. We're in about 12 locations across the Metro Detroit area, and we serve about 400 youth.
So you mentioned that you're really focused on those elementary school aged children, those younger children in boosting their literacy. Talk about the importance of that at that age and how getting that great base for your literacy at a young age really has an impact on your literacy as you develop, as a kid develops, but also on future impacts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, foundational skills of literacy are critical in elementary school, and even prior to that, in those early years when kids are just learning all of the sounds and the way to communicate with the world around them. Literacy is the ticket to being able to understand content area. So all the other subjects are really dependent on a strong set of literacy skills. And then that's what we build on for future success across our academics, and the ability, again, to engage. When we talk about literacy, it's not just reading. We're talking about reading, writing, listening, speaking, being able to really communicate and engage in lots of different ways with folks inside and outside of school.
I don't think people really realize just how important the ability to read is in your ability to do so many things beyond looking at a book and comprehending the contents of what's inside those pages. Can you give us some insight for you as someone on the front lines of this issue, dealing with kids particularly who may have some deficiencies in their literacy, whether it be from maybe a bad relationship with a teacher or just lack of resources in their school district, some of the outside impacts that being behind on your literacy can have in your development, particularly as you're being educated?
Yeah. So when students are not reading proficiently at grade level, the content that they're seeing in school is at grade level, and so they may not be able to interact with that content in a really positive way. It can impact early, beyond early academics. It can really impact students um, in their excitement for school, in their engagement for school. And so we know that if the confidence isn't there and their excitement for school isn't there, students start to, they don't want to be there and they don't want to interact and engage in school as often. And we really have the tools to be able to increase proficiency at those young ages, both with programs like the Center for Success, with lots of interventions in school, and with lots of parent engagement and parent support to make sure the resources are at home by building home libraries, giving parents the skills to be able to read with their students, and making sure that we're finding the right fit. What skills do we need to boost? What kind of reading materials can we give to students to make sure they're excited about reading? That, that those early steps really do make a major difference.
We're joined by Andrea Meyer. She is the executive director of the Center for Success Network, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find more information on centerforsuccess.org. That's center, the number 4, success.org. For more information, you can also contact them on their webpage as well, get more info on how you can take action on this and help them in their mission, including volunteering with the organization. Andrea, you mentioned that there are many different strategies you can use to intervene if there are deficiencies in literacy at a young age. We hear stories all the time about people that are older, either maybe they're late in high school and they're looking to graduate and they're really struggling because they can't read, or even adults who are out working in industry and are leading their lives every day that, had they been able to read at an adult level, would have probably even more success than they maybe are having at that moment in time. In terms of intervention, is the younger age really that perfect time to intervene? How effective are those interventions for kids of this age?
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely believe that intervening at the earliest point possible is really, really important. Students start learning literacy skills before they're even 1 year old. So being able to have information in front of them, to be using language in a lot of different ways, to be building those early rhyming skills and excitement for reading is really important. Our interventions are tailored to our students. So we have a one-to-one literacy mentor who's trained by our team that works with that student on a very specific set of skills. And that mentoring ability, that minutes that they're with just one-on-one, we have seen really incredible gains in students' proficiency. That small intervention is also building confidence, building excitement, all of those things that we mentioned earlier.
And so how do people get involved in this organization if their kids maybe are a little bit behind in their reading, or even a teacher may notice that a student in their class might be a little bit behind the rest of the class and wants to have those interventions or help put those interventions in front of their students? How can they get involved with the Center for Success Network?
We're enrolling right now. So we have spaces available for students across Metro Detroit and in Pontiac. Through the website is the best spot there. That website you mentioned, center, the number 4 success.org. There's a link that you can click to enroll students there. We also invite teachers to refer families to our program. We have a lot of partner schools that as students are going back into the classroom right now and doing their back to school assessments, are noticing that some of their students could really benefit from this additional resource. And so they're referring students directly to our program, and we'll get them enrolled and assessed and linked up with a mentor right away.
Centerforsuccess.org. That's center, the number 4 success.org for more information. Beyond that, you mentioned that these are one-to-one interventions to really help these students on an individual basis. If people would like to get involved and be one of those people helping these students, how can they go about that? What sort of process do they go through in order to volunteer with the Center for Success Network?
Same way. So through our website, you can find the link to volunteer. We are also doing lots of trainings right now as we gear up for our fall programming. We provide all of the training and all of the resources. So once interested mentor links up through the website, then a member of our team will reach out and connect to get you set up for a training. We have 2 steps in our training process. So the first is a training about our program, our mission, and our vision, really understanding exactly what you'll do in each session and getting acclimated to those resources that we have available. We do a background check, and then there's a second training as well that we call Mentoring for Equity. We truly believe that the right to literacy and access to high quality literacy is a social justice issue. And so we have an equity training that our mentors also go through to have some really deep discussions about the historical policies that have created kind of this inequitable system, and knowing that our students can be, they're just as brilliant and just as engaged as those who may be in a school that has more resources. So those 2 trainings we go through, and then as soon as we can figure out what the best time and day is for any mentor, we link them up with a mentee. Our intention is for a mentor and mentee to build a relationship and stay together throughout the school year. So those mentors will stay with the same student and really get to know each other and build a positive relationship together.
The Center for Success Network has locations in Detroit and in Pontiac. Their location in Detroit, their headquarters is on Collingwood Street in Detroit, and then in Pontiac on East Rundell Street. You can find them as well. They also have a virtual option if you're interested in virtual interventions, 313-550-0954 and ask for Anna. That's 313-550-0954. We are joined on the Megacast by Andrea Meyer, the Executive Director of the Center for Success Network. Again, their website for all this information, center4success.org, center4success.org. Andrea, in terms of results, when a student is taking part in some of these interventions through your organization, about what pace are they able to then increase their literacy and maybe get back toward where they should be, or beyond even where they should be at their grade level?
That's the hope, right? Is to make sure students are at or beyond proficiency at their grade level. On average, our students are gaining 4 independent and instructional reading levels every year that they're with us. We also see really significant gains in fluency and comprehension and phonemic awareness, some of the really key indicators of literacy. And then we also see those other pieces that our parents are reporting on feedback surveys of increased confidence, willingness to participate in school, excitement around school, less kind of behavior issues that they might be having prior to programming with us. So this past round, 100% of our families surveyed would recommend our program, and we're really, really thrilled with the results that their students had. So we're so proud of that.
Again, you can get in contact with them, center4success.org, center4success.org. Andrea, another minute with you before we need to say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know or keep in mind about your organization at this time?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to be involved. So if a weekly mentoring option is not working your, fit within your schedule, we have lots of ways to volunteer. We have an amazing event coming up on November 5th at the Strand Theater in Pontiac. We're going to have a comedian. So it's called Smiles for Success, and there will be a comedy show. It's family friendly. There will be some, a great kind of afterglow with some auction items and some great snacks. So we would love for you to come out and learn more on November 5th. Or find out more about us on our website. We have an incredible team of really dedicated educators that are excited to work with students, would love to have you participate in our programming in a way that makes sense for you.
You can find more information on center4success.org. That's center4success.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org, where the Center for Success Network is one of 322 charities and nonprofits in the Metro Detroit area supported on the platform. Andrea, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you to Share Detroit for this opportunity as well. Really grateful.
ShareDetroit.org to learn more about the Center for Success Network and 321 other charities and nonprofits here in your local area. That is going to do it for this week's editions of the Megacast. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the program. Rebecca Selman and Witt from the Detroit Historical Museum, Michael Greiner from Oakland University's School of Business Administration, and of course, Andrea Meyer from the Center for Success Network. You can view all these interviews and view our full episode from today and all throughout this week and dating all the way back to March of 2020 when we kicked off this program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find information on all of our partnering TV, radio, and streaming networks. Learn more about their original programming, follow them throughout the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And of course, join us live and live to tape for the Megacast Monday through Friday, live at 10 a.m., running until 11 o'clock across our network. Big thank you as well to our crew, Calvin Brown and Jared Clark out at Master Control, and of course, Larry Nyland, the king of television, our producer. That's it for this week's programs. We'll return on Tuesday. Monday's Labor Day. Take the day off and take the day off from the Megacast. Come back and join us on Tuesday of next week for new episodes.